Hello, everyone, and welcome to a little, special video here. There's been a lot of talk recently about The Substance. It did well at the box office. Lots of people saw it, lots of people loved it. And there's been talk of, can it become an awards contender? Can Demi Moore become a Best Actress contender? Makeup and hairstyling. As some films drop off and those last spots in Best Picture look a little up in the air, lots of people are thinking, can this potentially happen? So here we're going to talk about if we think it can actually happen and if there's a way, a path for it to somehow happen. Before we get into any of that potential path, Anthony, what are your general thoughts on if you think this can be a awards contender?
It's really tough because I think it's right on the line in so many categories. I do think the box office was strong enough for this film that definitely like cleared that stage.
Yeah.
I think this has a unique world, and I think that could definitely help it with certain critics groups. It could help it with the Independent Spirit Awards. I think Demi Moore's narrative is definitely strong, and she gives a fantastic performance. And I think if they really support it, especially with movies like Joker, falling, maybe it does get into like production design. I think there's a lot of possibilities for this movie, but I worry it'll come up short in all of them. And so we can get into the specifics. So I think right now I'm hedging my bets. I don't think it will be able to surmount itself.
Let's see if this potential path might change your mind. Let's see. So first off, the early potential award stops it can have. The first one is going to be the European Film Awards on November 5th, and if it does well here, that's a great start. Also, we should mention at the Gotham Awards, which just happened a day of recording, Demi Moore did get a Best Actress nomination. That's the only thing the film got, but it did get something, so that's a good start. But the European Film Awards would be the next major stop, and they have given it to risky European films like Titan, which got picture, director, actor, and actress. So I feel like if they can go for Titan there, you would think, especially because it's a more European international film, that this would do well there. So you would hope it does that. The New York Film Critics Circle previously recognized in their awards a director like Rajamouli for RRR or Lupita Nyong'o for Us. So I think you could see either Coralie Fargeat get director or Demi Moore get actress there, potentially. We'll see. And then LAFCA on December 8th, Demi Moore could possibly, because there's 4 potential acting nominations there, 2 winners and 2 runners up. You could see her potentially be one of those 4 people recognized, as well as they could give it. I could see out of any of the critics' places, give it best film. So
LAFCA, of course, being Los Angeles film
the
critics.
location of the film, yes.
Those people that do not know.
LAFCA.
I do think Demi Moore is probably the best shot that the movie has. Though I worry when it comes to the awards, because like they didn't go for Toni Collette and Hereditary. They didn't go for Lupita Nyong'o and Us. Female performances in horror movies, I think, have a very uphill battle because you're going up against a genre film and you're going up against a type of female character that I don't think the Academy typically responds to. Because I feel like the younger voters would have to just get all behind it, like they were for Everything Everywhere. And because this is such a younger, spread out field, I wonder if The Substance can get enough support in its corner when they could be distracted by Honora or Amelia Perez or, a lot of these other contenders.
I do think this year, more than past years, I think these critics groups and these big ones and what they choose to honor and spotlight will have more influence than they did in past years, because there's more open. This is definitely more an open race, kind of like in that, I forget, like 2021 year where it was a little more of an open race. And I think the critics pushed hard for Drive My Car is really what ended up pushing it into picture. So I think if the critics get behind specific films, that will definitely boost their chances of getting in there. And I do think that it doesn't have to be loved by older Academy members for it to still happen. If it just has to be a passion pick, is what I would say. It has to be a passion pick for enough people for it to end up getting in there. And I do think the Demi Moore narrative will
have passions from other, like, that's what I think is interesting, is that the younger voters are going to have passions for a lot of different films, and I don't think it's going to be as concentrated as it needs to be. And I think the best shot this movie has is with the older voters who remember Demi Moore in her heyday and are going to want to honor not only this performance, but her career and what this performance represents. So it could straddle those two. It could have enough youth support and enough of the older support to get Demi Moore into that 5th spot. I think if you really want my honest answer, I think it's going to come down where right now I see 3 actors jockeying for that 5th spot. I think it's her, I think it's Amy Adams, and I think it's Cynthia Erivo. And I think those other two movies' performance are going to dictate how far Demi Moore is able to go. Because if Wicked starts to Barbie itself and starts to become a bigger hit, I could see Cynthia Erivo maybe getting a fighter's chance. It's the more recent performance. And then Amy Adams is in also an independent, out there, bizarre movie. And I do think people would be more willing to go Amy Adams because she's been nominated 6 times before, right? So
Yeah.
that's the other thing that I think Demi Moore's competition for that 5th spot haven't hit the scene yet.
Yeah, I think we agree on that top 4 there with Madison, Gascon, Jolie, and Kidman. And I do think that 5th spot is going to end up being whoever it is, a passion pick. Whether right now I've got Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths, Demi Moore, I think Amy Adams for Night Bitch would be a passion pick as well. So I don't know about Cynthia Erivo. That's a wait and see kind of thing, but it could end up being a passion pick. Who knows? So yeah, I think that last spot will definitely come down to who has the most passion.
And it's early. I mean, we can't discount the substance is an early release.
It did September, yeah, it could have peaked early. This is why these awards have to keep it in the conversation for it to actually become a thing.
And it's from Mubi too. This is not a proven distributor. Like this is what I would ask you. And I'm not saying because I don't know if you don't have her in your 5 right now.
No,
so it's not like you back your claim up. But like, what is the performance like to be more that gets in?
There isn't one. That's the thing. But I feel like this new Academy, I feel like I could see it still happening because I do feel like each year there are performances where we're like, or films in general, where like, I'm not sure if there's a precedent for that. Like, I don't think there was a precedent for Everything Everywhere, that kind of film doing that well. In those kind of performances, or even Emma Stone in Best Actress. I don't feel like there was a precedence for that kind of performance winning. So I do think they're breaking precedences, but I don't know if it will happen for this.
I understand what you're saying, and so I think I should rephrase my point. The thing with Everything Everywhere is that movie's like momentum you can mark to because you look at Everything Everywhere All at Once and Oppenheimer, they're very similar films when it comes to how they performed at these awards voters. So my thing with The Substance is I can't think of another movie that is of this nature. It's a genre film. Let's keep it broad. Let's just say it's a genre film. And it was able to have the sort of campaign that would then get it into this sort of conversation. I mean, one was because Poor Things. I'm not going to compare this to Poor Things. Poor Things was got 12. What was
4 wins?
Nominations. Yeah. That's not happening to The Substance even on its best day.
No.
I do think what I find interesting is that I feel like if not Demi Moore, I think maybe the best chance this has is screenplay. I think we've already getting to our final conclusions. You might have
here. Let's keep going on its stops. I feel like Golden Globes is going to be a big stop for it on December 9th. I feel like because it's in comedy or musical, you can definitely see it. But I think it will get Best Picture there. There's 6 spots there, and looking at the competition, I feel like it's pretty safely a picture nomination there. There's once again 6 nominations for Best Actress, Comedy or Musical, so I feel like that's a safe nomination for Demi Moore. I feel like since she is up against Madison and Gascon, so I do think that is a hurdle in that category. But I do think I could see a world where she still ends up winning there. I feel like that's a nice straddle between. I feel like I could see the new, more international voters liking that performance, as well as I think the older HFPA members liking the narrative surrounding Demi Moore. So I think she could potentially win over those 2 newcomers who might split the votes between big newcomers. So that's possible. I also think because it's more international now, I think you could see Corley Fargiet because there's 6 spots in director. I think she could potentially get that 6th spot. That's really the only female director in contention. Screenplay, once again, I feel like that's really possible because, like you said, that's the award it won at Cannes. I feel like that's a good place to honor it. And some people say supporting actress for Margaret Qualley because there are 6 spots, but I don't feel super confident in that one. But I feel like those 4 nominations right there are all possible.
I feel like I would be very surprised if Qualley was able to top Selena Gomez. To me, that's the one that she would have to overclimb, and I don't see it happening. I feel like we'll see. I think director and screenplay might be a little too much to ask for, but picture actress I think are potential. And I think that Madison and Gascon could split the vote for the newcomer ingenue sort of performances, and then Demi Moore could slip.
And they love a narrative at the Globes. So yeah, that would be a great start.
Started the Glenn Close momentum for The Wife,
Yep.
So I could see Demi Moore do. I think honestly, Demi Moore winning Best Actress, Comedy or Musical is probably her best chance, and the movie's best chance to win a top award.
And I feel like her winning that would then really boost her at potentially getting a nomination at the Oscars. So
good
for sure. I feel like this is maybe its most important stop in the award season at the Golden Globes. And yeah, and then the other stops there, you got Critics' Choice. I feel like the Critics' Choice will go hard for this film. They'll give it picture, actress, director, and screenplay. And I'm sure they might give it a few tech categories too. I feel like that's the critics in general, I think. You would hope with Critics' Choice. Sometimes they try and be like Academy predictors and like don't go for what you think the critics would go for. But I feel like with this film, there will be enough passion for it to get a decent chunk of nominations. We'll have to see how it does on the Oscars shortlist later for the tech categories. I think some people think it could potentially win makeup or get nominated for like sound or editing. I have doubts about any of that. I do think it could win makeup potentially because the makeup is great. I don't know what's going to win that category. So we just have to keep an eye on what it gets shortlisted for there.
Just say to that point about the makeup, because people will say, "Oh, look, you have your makeup," and then the crossover with acting. We saw it happen with The Whale. We saw it happen with Isaac Tammy Faye. We saw it happen with Poor Thing. Because I feel like that is the type of parallel that people love nowadays. Like, oh, makeup, acting, go.
And it's only been the last 4 years. It's not like that led to Vice or Bombshell getting acting wins. So
yeah, they did get nominated though.
They did get nominated, yeah, for sure. But yeah, and then SAG Awards, I feel like she could potentially get nominated. I feel like at SAG Awards, you might see one or two of the other contenders, like a Baptiste or someone else, miss out for, I feel like, a narrative that I think actors in particular would go for with this kind of narrative with Demi Moore. So I could see her getting nominated there, honestly. But that would be the only thing I would get at SAG Awards. But I could see it.
This is turning into also a Wicked talk. I apologize.
Yeah.
Everything goes back to Wicked. I'm interested to see what SAG does with Wicked because they loved. I mean, Crazy Rich Asians got an ensemble nom, and Cynthia Erivo got Harriet, and that was a major get for her before the Oscar. So I'm intrigued as to what SAG will do with Wicked because I would imagine SAG being like such a wide group, they might fall in love with the popcorn movie. I mean, this is the group that gave Black Panther Best Ensemble, so that. My logic would be like, oh, Demi Moore could do well with SAG, especially if this comes after the Golden Globe win, if she was able to win there. But even the nomination, but I feel like Wicked might be poised to do well at SAG, and it does have a good to speak of.
Yeah, I think that really depends. I'm still not. We have a separate video on this, but I'm still not completely sold on it as a awards thing outside of text. So we'll see. I do think that fifth spot at SAG is definitely up in the air, and I think Moore is definitely one of the people who could snag it, or who knows, maybe someone like Kidman misses, and there's two.
And do you really think that top four is set
for SAG? No, I feel confident about that top four ending up at the Oscars after they hit the paths needed there. But I feel like at SAG, I'm only confident about probably Mikey Madison, Angelina Jolie, and maybe Gascon because it's Netflix. But even then, honestly, Mikey Madison is the only one I'm pretty confident in. I could see. We have to see how Maria ends up developing. So
yeah,
who knows? And then BAFTA. I don't think this, even though it is like a European film, I don't think this is the kind of thing that BAFTA goes for. And they don't have their jury voting anymore, which is where you could see Demi Moore potentially getting one of the spots.
They change the rules every single fucking
year. They do.
God.
I liked the jury. I think they should have kept it around, but that's how you get fun nominations. But I feel like because there's no jury, I don't think it's going to do great at the BAFTA Awards. But I still think that there's definitely a path if it does well for certain things to happen, which is where we can talk about what we think it can get. Lots of people think it can be an overall contender here for all of these categories. I'm not there yet. Like we said, it's Mubi. I don't think they have the funds to do it, but maybe they don't have. Maybe if Demi Moore is out there campaigning the whole season, which she clearly is willing to do, and they just really have to do screenings for it with members, maybe that wouldn't be that expensive, I guess, because I do think Demi Moore will campaign for it. And I think, like we were talking about, that's the best chance of it getting anything and piercing through to actual voters. So maybe, but I feel like actress and makeup and hairstyling are the only things I would currently consider with an outside shot of screenplay, which I, for some reason, don't have listed here, or director.
Yeah, I agree that I think makeup and then actress in that order are the most likely nominations. But I do think that, listen, we can't deny that this is also a little bit of a tough sit. As the movie goes on, it gets very intense. And I do think that ending is polarizing for a lot of people. And that
the last 20 minutes are crazy.
That the movie leaves in voters. And it's also, it ends on the most controversial note as far as creatively. And it ends on a note that has nothing to do with Demi Moore. She's not in that last section. And so I think that does not help it when that's what you want, what you want to leave the viewers who haven't seen the movie yet, who are being told, watch this as a contender. to be told. So, but listen, as you've said, the last couple of years we've really seen like this. I really do think the term Oscar bait has completely lost its meaning.
Mhm.
I think gone are the days of like the King's Speech and those sort of movies doing well. I mean, unless Here comes out of nowhere.
Nope, it
So,
got terrible reviews, so no.
yeah, I think that. Listen, I think right now we're hopeful. There's certainly narratives, and I think Demi Moore again has avenues for success, Golden Globe specifically. But yeah, I think it's. Listen, to me, I'm the hopeless optimist, but I
Mhm.
think it's all that we have such a competitive field in actress that there's a lot of great female stories, female performances, and
Mhm.
people like Demi Moore might not be able to get in there. I also want. I mean, I understand that it's Demi Moore, but I feel like you could make the argument she's supporting, and I honestly think she might do very
It's a
well
co-lead thing.
because I do think that like if Marine Jean Baptiste is too small, if Wicked is too like popular, not really an awards contender type of film, and Night Bitch is too too like if they look at it in the same way as The Substance, but they give The Substance a little bit more credit because of its artistic bona
I
fide,
think they would. Yeah.
maybe it's definitely in the conversation.
Yeah. If Baptiste doesn't work out, I would probably put Moore as my next pick. So yeah, I would agree. Makeup and hairstyling is the only nomination I have for it right now. It could potentially win that because I don't know what would win, honestly. And then I do think Moore is very possible for Best Actress. I think she's my number 6 or 7 right now. I just have to see her continue to hit all of these places, like win some Critics Awards, get the nominations, get the Golden Globe nom, all that stuff. And then outside of that, I think original screenplay is also very possible. I think there's room in that category for it to get a nomination there. And I don't feel like director, but I feel like those are the only categories that can
It could
make
be the type of thing where like it is one of those movies that gets one nomination only for its screenplay. This definitely has the
I can
vibe,
see that.
and it would be a way,
Mhm.
right, to honor Coralie Farge, right? She
Yeah, for
wrote it,
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
so that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very exciting.
It's going to be an interesting film to watch because I think we didn't really expect it to reach this point after its initial release to be such an awards like talking conversation. So who knows? It's surprised us thus far,
Yeah.
so maybe it will continue to. So yeah, comment your thoughts on its Oscar chances down below, guys. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.